Welcome to Verified Therapist. We have been attempting to record this for 2 hours.
2 hours. Yep.
So, again, we're having technical difficulties. We have no clue what the issue is. We have done everything that they've told us to do, and we still can't get it.
Yeah.
So, we're just recording on Zoom, and if it sounds a little wonky, it's because it's Zoom. Just like the last episode was Zoom.
We're sorry, but we don't know what's happening. We don't really know what's going on with Riverside. It's actually,
Yeah.
I don't think it's Riverside. I think it's me, but I just can't figure it out. So
it's fine. It just doesn't make sense to us why this is just now an issue. Like if this was like, I don't know, a thing. We've done everything. Like you've updated your computer, you've done the test runs, we've cleared the cache.
I mean,
we've
like
changed
literally everything you can think of. Everything you can think of. We tried to record
the firewall off.
Yeah.
Tried to record just the audio, like you said. Yeah, just nothing.
So, just fingers crossed that we get that figured out.
Yeah, and just like bear with us while we figure all of this out because we have no idea.
Yeah. We have a new router en route to be delivered on Tuesday, so maybe that's the problem, but we'll see.
My thing is, well, I take that back because I do live in an older house as of right now.
Yeah.
But they fixed the internet issues that we were having because Spectrum came out and they changed all the cords and like all of that stuff because where the tornado hit a couple years ago, I guess the people that lived here didn't notice that the internet was severely impacted because the cords were literally just like laying on the side of the house because the tornado ripped them out of
the box.
Yeah. So that was the internet issues we were having, and ever since then we haven't really had any internet issues except when Spectrum randomly at like midnight decides that they're going to do a system update in the neighborhood. For example, one of the first episodes we edited, they decided to do that while I was in the editing process. I was like, thank you, Spectrum.
So much.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I also have an issue where I can't sleep if there's not noise, like background noise. And so my background noise is the TV. So that was a little uncomfortable and I couldn't really sleep. So I had to turn it on my phone.
I don't know. I live in an apartment where I guess we share the internet. I don't know. But, sorry. I don't know if because remember we got the tornadoes that kind of came over my apartment. So I don't know. And like there was damage in the back. So I don't really know if something happened there and I just don't know about it. We just be like having tornado damage where we live.
Yeah, for sure. Did you see this weekend all the tornadoes that went through Oklahoma?
Oh, I've been watching it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's awful.
That poor little town, what is it, Sulphur, Oklahoma, is just like wiped off the map. Like those pictures look like what Mayfield looked like.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
They got hit by multiple. Like there was like one violent one that came through and then an hour later another violent one came through and it's just terrible.
And we got our first mile-wide tornado in like 10 years, which is crazy to think about.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching it on Ryan Hall and it was just massive.
It's always like telling when like the weather people are kind of just like when they're watching something like the little, on the radar with the little blue dots that show debris in the air. And they're just watching it go over a town. And they're just like, just pray, people. Like, it's really scary to hear that.
Yeah. And like, Ryan Hall is one that he's very like calm and collected. And like, even him, he was obviously not freaking out, but he was just like, I don't even know what to say.
And he's only done that a few times. Like,
yeah.
He did that last year when that really big one went through Mississippi. He did that with the Mayfield one. He did that with the Bowling Green one. He's only done that a few times where he's just kind of like, let's all
Mhm.
just like sit here in silence for a minute.
Yeah, because it's terrifying. So we have, like, a good dose of tornado trauma thanks
Mhm.
to the one that ripped through where we live, and now I'm just gonna be pissed off because it's messing up my internet, so
Mhm. Yeah, so my parents are did I tell you this? My parents are getting, getting me a storm shelter to
yes,
put in my
yeah.
house. So,
Mhm.
that is what they're helping us out with in the new house.
Thank God for that. Thank God.
Yeah, because I mean, freaks me out, but my dad, like, as soon as we were like, "We're moving, and, like, this is where we're moving and everything," and he was just like, "Okay, well, let's start looking at storm shelters," and he
Yeah.
was, like, sending me pictures of storm
Mhm.
shelters.
It's insane, like, I feel like that we never used to get storms like that, really up until the big one came through, and,
Mhm,
if you remember, like, that big one came through in December, and then we had another one on New Year's that kinda came through, wasn't nearly as bad,
mhm.
but then, of course, this past December, we have more like, it's just I don't know what's happening, but global
Yeah,
warming, basically.
yeah, because we had those tornadoes that hit your apartment that came
Mhm,
through,
mhm,
like, 2 years after
mhm,
the big one that came
yeah,
through, so absolutely terrifying.
mhm.
Um, we'll stop talking about weather here in a second, guys. We're just really passionate about
About
weather.
about not dying from a tornado.
Yeah, it's called trauma.
I don't
We watch Ryan Hall because of trauma.
trauma. Every time he's live, he could literally be live for Oklahoma like he was, and I'm like, "What's
Mhm.
happening? What's going on?"
Same. Literally,
And
I got
then,
a
like, I'm
notification that he
watching
was live.
yes, I'm watching his live feed, and he's like, Brad Arnold's at this tornado, and he's, like, super close to it, and I'm like, "Thoughts out to Brad." Like, I know Brad. I don't know Brad, but, like, you get used to his storm chasers.
Mhm,
When you have trauma and you study a lot of it, you get to know a lot of the things about it. So, like, I can read a radar a lot
mhm.
easier than I used to be able to.
Yep.
I can know what their language is a lot easier than I used to. I know who the storm chasers are, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Chris Hall cracks me up every single time he comes through
Uh-huh.
on the walkie-talkie system
Yeah.
that they have. 'Cause he's like, "Ryan, we got a tornado right now, right in front of us, pull up
Yeah.
my feet." And I'm like, "Chris."
And it's so, like, in contrast to Ryan, who's like, "Well, Chris Hall's at this tornado in Iowa."
And Chris Hall's like, "It's dropping right in front of me." I'm like, he is so passionate, it's so
Yeah.
funny. Okay, so last year, because 'cause I'm from
Mhm.
Eastern Kentucky, and which is where Ryan Hall is from and Chris Hall
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
So they were storm chasing in their backyard because there was a lot of really bad weather that came through Eastern Kentucky. And there
Yeah.
was a funnel cloud that Chris Hall was like watching go through downtown Hazard.
Mhm.
And where it was, like the funnel cloud, he was like, watch it. And he was like in the Hardee's parking lot, which points directly at my parents' house.
Mhm.
And it was going over my parents' house.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my dad was standing outside on the freaking porch watching it
Mhm.
go
Oh,
over the house.
listen, when they do you remember, like, the last that they were like, it could get really, really bad like, really bad, and, like, we
Mhm,
had several, like, funnel clouds, and, like, that bad one kind of went through Louisville.
mhm.
Um, it ended up going from Louisville to my hometown, and Ryan Hall had 2 of his storm chasers there, and I'm telling my mom, who, like, doesn't care about tornadoes or anything, I'm like, "Listen, Ryan Hall storm chasers, 2 of them, are in our hometown right now. Like, you need that's a big deal when they're there." But
Mhm.
I remember one of them came on, I don't remember who it was, but he came on and he was like, "Ryan, I'm seeing people out on their front porches looking at this thing, and this is a PDS tornado. They need to get underground." And he was like, "Yeah, people don't need to be out there on their front porch." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's where I'm from. That makes sense. Everybody gets out on their front porch and looks at it."
Mhm. I think that's such a Midwestern thing because out of all the tornadoes that went through Oklahoma, like the one that was going through Omaha, Nebraska
Mhm.
too,
Yeah,
like everybody was outside of their house, like recording it. And
filming it. There's so much footage.
it was a really cool looking tornado. Like it looked like your typical like
Mhm.
tornado, which
Yeah.
is, I'm sure amazing to see, but also absolutely terrifying. And like
Mhm.
there's people like in the background, a lot of these videos going like, "Is it coming to us? Is it gonna
Yeah.
hit us?"
Oh my god.
And people are like, "It's fine. You're
Yeah.
fine. We'll be okay." And then it's like a couple of minutes later, "Oh shit, I think it is coming our direction."
Mhm. Listen, rule of thumb with tornadoes, if it's not moving right or left, it's coming straight towards you. So,
Mhm.
get
Even if it is moving right or left, it still could
Mhm.
move right or left and trail towards you. So,
Mhm.
just yeah. And tornadoes speeds change also just to
Yeah.
let you know, like, there is like, where the actual tornado is, there's a lot of, like, vortices around it, so you can be a
Mhm.
mile away from the actual tornado and still get
Yep.
swept up in a vortice.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
don't don't do
Yeah.
that.
Here's our
Just
PSA about the weather.
PSA, don't go storm chasing unless you know what the fuck you're doing,
Yeah.
because it's really dangerous.
Unless you're Chris Hall or Reed or Brad Arnold, they can go and storm chase because they know what they're
Mhm.
doing. Or Nick. The rest of y'all can't.
Fred Adair.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody else, the fuck down.
Go to your basement.
Go to your basement, please, or your storm shelter. Oh my gosh. Don't
I
be
need a
saying that
basement.
outside like an idiot.
No. No.
I
Or
will
if
say
you're like
that.
me, get to your bathroom with your dog on his leash and just hold on and close your eyes and hope that it doesn't hit your apartment.
Just hold on to like
Yeah.
to your bathtub and stuff.
I
Just
can
like
I can always tell when the tornado is around me because, like,
mhm,
you and my mom and, like, my best friend Jessica, nobody will be like, "It's fine, it's not around you." Everybody will be like, "Okay, it's fine. It's gonna be over in a few minutes." So I always know when I'm like when it's here.
mhm,
And, like, you know what the scariest part about it was for me? Like, well, all of it, but all like, it's like the before it happened, our electric goes out,
mhm.
our news station went out, our phone service goes out.
Yeah.
You don't think about that happening until it happens, and we're just sitting in our bathroom. I can't get in touch with anybody. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where the tornado's at. I don't know what's happening. I'm just
Mhm.
hearing noises that sound very terrifying outside. And like, what do you do? You're in the
Yeah.
dark and you're a sitting duck.
It was crazy because like the power went like it went off and then it went on and then it went
Yeah.
off again.
Uh-huh.
And then like when you start hearing the transformers blow, that's
Yeah.
like that was my telltale sign. I was like, "Oh shit, it's gonna hit us."
Right, yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
was like, I watched too many weather documentaries to know. Because Josh was like, "What is that sound?" And I was like, "Just get down. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
cover us up because we're getting hit.
Right, yeah.
There's no escaping it now."
Mm. Ooh.
Anyways, we'll really stop now.
Yeah. Not to heighten anyone's anxiety, like, ours might be heightened currently talking about it, but
Anyways, so autumn,
yeah.
highs and lows.
Well, the low has been the freaking podcasting stuff that we've been using not working.
Mhm.
So we've had
That's
to,
just
like,
gonna be both of
reschedule.
our lows.
Yeah, like, we've had to, like, reschedule, like, we recorded last Sunday, didn't it was just crap. There was, like, no saving it. And then we tried to record when else?
Tuesday, maybe?
Tuesday, and we couldn't. So then we finally recorded on
Thursday.
Thursday on Zoom. So
Mhm.
that came out today. So I guess, like, that's my low is just, like, it's annoying. Like, it's very hard. We podcast on the weekends because we work all throughout the week, and so it's, like, very
Mhm.
hard if that does not work out. We can't just be like, "Okay, well, we'll record tomorrow at 11 instead." No. Um, but we've gotta, like, figure it out because
Yeah.
we're not famous enough yet to not work our full-time jobs. So that's just been stressful trying to figure that out. My high for the week. I'm trying to think. Not that it's been a bad week, it's not been a bad week. It's just been a normal week.
Mhm. Like, as normal as possible.
Yeah, my high for the week is that I did not have to do anything this weekend. That's my high.
Ooh,
I got to
that's
just, like,
always a good
stay home.
weekend.
Yeah. I got to just, like, stay home, and yesterday I just kind of, like, I cleaned. I got a new vacuum from TikTok Shop, and so I put that together. Yeah.
Is it pink?
Mhm. It's one of the ones, you know what the ones. The Home
Yeah.
Depot ones with the numbers on it. Yeah, it's one of those. So, she's charging right now, so I'm gonna use
Mhm.
her after, um, we get done, but we'll see how good she is. She has good reviews.
Yeah.
So,
We're
that
all victim to the TikTok shop.
all victim to the TikTok Shop. I already have stuff in my cart now. Like, I have a freaking like a water pick flosser in
Mhm.
there, and then I've got Tortured Poets Department shirt in there. Yeah. So she's just waiting to get checked out
Yeah.
again.
Let's get all of this stuff before the TikTok ban happens.
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
I
Like,
don't know. Like they did,
I
they passed it, so like
yeah,
it's coming. I just
I wish
I
an
don't know.
American company would buy it because like I just don't have time for this. And also, like, not to get political on this podcast because like we love everybody of all political shapes and sizes, but
Mhm.
also like y'all are worried about TikTok over like guns and women's reproductive rights and the housing crisis and the mental health crisis and
Mhm.
our shitty healthcare in general. It just doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm not a politician. I just feel like that we have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, and like it's not even like it's like both sides of the aisle. We're like, what the fuck are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
And there is, I just watched a video this morning of
Mm.
Jennifer Lawrence talking about like the American crisis right now and like the
Mhm.
government being in crisis. And I think it's really telling that the woman who played Katniss Everdeen is
Mhm.
like coming up and saying like this is what we need to do to make changes to make our country better. And it's
Right.
like both sides of the aisle. It's like we can't be at war with each other. We have to be at war
Mhm.
against the corruption that's happening in our
Right.
government.
Yeah. Cuz
So,
like
and it is like local politics.
mhm.
And the number one thing that they said is to stop gerrymandering because that is literally how
Mhm.
one of our local representatives got voted out of office.
Yeah.
That was actually making change in our community. Anyway, we're very upset about
It's just like very frustrating because it's
yeah.
almost just like and I get you need to watch Hamilton. And I okay, like our founding fathers, white dudes, whatever. Like you say what you will about that. But it always just pulls me back to Hamilton and I'm like, is this what Hamilton fought for? Is this what he fought for? Um
Mhm.
and again, like they weren't great either, right? Like they owned slaves and stuff, but like or I know Thomas Jefferson did at least, but like I'm just the theater kid in me is like Hamilton didn't write his 51 Federalist Papers so that we could sit here and ban TikTok.
Mm.
But
I need to watch it.
listen, we need to have like a watch party at your house and watch it.
At the new house?
Yeah, we could do it at the new house. You might watch it and
Yeah.
be like, this is so stupid, but it's literally so good.
You never know. I don't know. I'm big into musicals. I was a huge Glee fan back in the day,
Yeah.
so I might like it. And like
It's
I
very like I would suggest watching it because I went and watched it live first.
Mhm,
And I was just overwhelmed. I went in completely blind. Did not know the story of Alexander Hamilton, didn't know anything about anything. Like, I love looking back at the history of it now, but, like, I didn't know
mhm.
anything about it when I watched it, and I was just very, like, overwhelmed, and they rap a lot, so it's, like, hard to keep up with if you don't know the story. So
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, watch it on Disney Plus first with the captions so that you can read and keep up with what's going on, and then go live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, my favorite musical is Phantom of the Opera. Like, it's
Mhm.
just a
Mhm.
classic.
Yeah.
I've seen it live
Mhm.
probably, like, 3 times
Yeah.
at least.
Mhm.
and I've watched the movie too
Mhm.
with oh gosh, who is it? I mean, I know Gerard Butler's in it. Shout out
Yeah.
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler, you always find a way into the podcast, man. Welcome.
Gosh, there's a new movie that added to Netflix with Gerard
Mhm.
Butler, and it was like the number one pick for you. Like it was like you will like this movie. I was like, is this showing my Gerard Butler obsession?
Gerard, you
So
could come back.
I love you. Um. Anyways, that man ages like fine wine.
Yeah, he does.
But anyways, God, what is her name? I know she's a bitch in real life. Emmy Rossum.
Yeah,
Sorry, Emmy, but you are a bitch.
yeah. I've
I've
not
heard like I've not heard one good thing about her,
no, working on set with her. So,
and
um,
just like people running into her in public too.
mhm,
Like I heard she is, yeah.
yeah.
But anyways, beautiful voice and
Mhm,
like their performance in the movie is so good, and I have a playlist
yeah.
dedicated
Mhm,
to my favorite songs, and also like my spring playlist has
yeah,
at least 3 of the songs from
yeah.
the musical on there
Listen,
because I just love it so much.
I'm I'm the same way with Hamilton. I listen to the Hamilton soundtrack and I'm just like, guess this is what we're doing. We're going through the American Revolution. And I didn't think I don't know what I expected going into it, but I was like, I don't wanna watch a freaking musical about just like I don't know. It wasn't what I expected. Like you get
Mhm.
like I cried at one point during it and I was like, why am I crying about Alexander Hamilton right now? But you do.
I
So
like
I don't know.
musicals that make you cry.
Me too. I really wanna see Wicked live. I would love to see Wicked live.
I've seen Wicked live.
Is it good?
It is so good.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, like, I was really excited for the movie. I mean, I'm still excited for the movie, but like,
And Ariana's and Ethan's you all tainted it.
Ariana, what are you doing here? We'll see. We'll see. I mean, Ariana is like a spectacular actress and singer, so
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be good despite
Mhm.
all of the drama around it.
Swallow drama, we'll still go watch it. Okay, tell me about your high. I don't know how we got into musicals, but tell me about your high.
This is what a yapping does.
This is what we
Um, well, my high is, I guess, I'm like very close to closing on a house.
Mhm.
Let's knock on wood and make sure everything continues to go as planned.
Mhm.
But that's exciting. So I'm like in the process of packing up my house right now, which is stressful,
Mhm.
but going good.
She's an actual adult now.
I know. With a mortgage,
Ooh.
which makes me want to throw up though. That part makes me want to throw up.
There's it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. There's been some hiccups, but it's gonna be fine.
Just stressful time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stressful time with the world. I feel like literally everybody from Vanderpump Rules in the Valley, like when they start talking about like mortgage payments and like money and like all this stuff and they're like stressing, I'm just
Mhm.
like, if they're struggling, is there any fucking hope for the rest of us out here?
But their mortgage payments are also like $12,000 a month.
Which is insane.
Yeah. So
I couldn't do that. Like I'm with Schwartz. I would throw up. Like every month.
I've lived so long impoverished and not severely. Okay, like I check my privilege on that. So like I'm not like low class. But you know what I'm saying? Like I've
Mhm.
lived so long like this in the middle class somewhere that I don't even know that like if I was presented the opportunity and could afford a $12,000 mortgage, I don't really know that I would feel comfortable doing it. Just because I'd be like, $1,000 is a little steep monthly, don't we think, everybody?
Mhm.
For rent right now. So like I'd probably be like a really stingy rich person who like wouldn't spend any of the money because I'd be terrified.
Yeah. Because that's what like that's I mean, that's trauma, like
Mhm.
financial trauma.
Mhm.
I know some people whose car payments are like $1,200 a month, and
Yeah.
I would literally be nauseous.
Oh, I would die. Yeah, 100%.
Even if I had the money for it, I still think that I would be like
Sick.
nauseous about
Yeah. That's what like you said, that's what classism does to a girl.
that.
Thanks, Obama. No, I'm just kidding. Obama, we miss you. You didn't do that. That was just the trend from
Thanks, Ronald Reagan.
time for Vanderpump.
Here we go. So, Vanderpump Rules
Mm-hmm.
is once again the Sheena show, but no, actually, we're gonna give credit where credit is due and talk about James Kennedy absolutely demolishing Tom Sandoval.
Yeah, so James Kennedy is really having his season of all seasons this season, I feel like.
That
Like,
he is.
he ripped Tom Sandoval a new one, but in a calm fashion, not in like an old James fashion where he's gonna get drunk and crazy about it, but like where he almost, like it's almost like that he knows that Tom Sandoval is so delusional that he's just like he kind of like laughs him off, which makes him demolish him even more,
Yeah. And I found this morning. Someone posted a meme of this. So,
Mhm.
like, it says 911, I'd like to report a murder. It's the meme. And it says in one scene, James told Sandoval, Rachel never loved you. You were
Mhm.
a rebound. You were in
Mhm.
a fuck fest only. He's a liar. He did love Ariana and was madly in love with her. He rewrites history, and his band is a joke.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Mhm.
Because all of those things are true. You were so head over heels in love with Ariana until all of a sudden you wanted to bang Rachel out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then for him to be like when James mentions that and Tom Sandoval's like, "You don't know, man. You weren't there." And I'm like, "Tom, quit playing like you haven't been in love with her for." And like we can't
Mhm.
really like know somebody's relationship and their feelings. I get that, but like I just don't buy it. I don't buy
I
it.
don't either. I don't buy it one bit. And for James to call him a rebound and
Mhm.
say, like, you were Rachel's rebound from me.
Mhm.
She said that she used you to get over me.
Yeah.
Oof, that's gotta
Yeah.
hurt, bro.
Yeah.
Gotta hurt.
As he's wearing his dipped out shirt.
Yeah. And I think it's like also very telling of James to say his piece like that.
Mhm.
And then when Tom does his Tom Sandoval thing and makes a dig of like, just go push your buttons on the keyboard.
Mhm.
And James was like, say it to my face, bro. And he says it, and Tom Sandoval says it again. And he's like, all right, we'll do that. And walked
Yeah.
away. I was
Yeah.
like, James,
Mhm.
where did this
Growth.
come from?
Growth.
Literally.
We love to see
So
it.
I do. I love seeing this. If anyone's having a soft girl era, it is James Kennedy.
Mhm. James is having, like, a mature like, a grown-up era. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like that we've really seen James grow up in this.
We definitely have because we've also seen like his talks with Allie of talking like wanting kids and wanting marriage. And
Mhm.
Allie's just kind of like, I don't know if I see that. And
Yeah.
James just starts like crying because he's like, I
Mhm.
see it with you.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for him in that moment.
I know, it
Um,
breaks my heart.
but also Allie is young.
Mhm. Mhm.
She's really young. So like maybe she doesn't see that right now.
And they need to have conversations about
Mhm.
this because we we've just seen so many relationships on TV in general play out to where, like, they don't have these conversations early on, and then they get married, and things look different, or
Mhm.
that 2 people one person wants kids and one person doesn't, so, like, these need to be like, conversations that they're having for sure.
Because I mean, we're seeing that with Michelle and Jesse and their
Mhm.
marriage falling apart on the
Right.
Valley. So we'll get to the Valley in a minute. It's just really refreshing to see James and also to
Mhm.
see him because last week's episode, Jax was on there
Mhm.
doing Jax Taylor things of screaming
Yeah.
at everybody, and him and Katie got into it, and James was standing in between Katie
Mhm.
and Jax and was
Mhm.
defending Katie from
Yeah.
Jax
Mhm.
because Jax was being really aggressive and like
Mhm.
angry and all of that, and James was like standing there like in between.
I
And
kind
I'm
of think
like,
that
wow.
James is, like, seeing how the men kind of I shouldn't say the men. Jax and Tom Sandoval more so do this than any other man, I think, on the show, but, like, how they verbally attack the women on the show,
Mhm.
and that used to be James. James used to do that, like, he would get really, really drunk, and then he would, like, call Katie fat, or He would, like, get in the girls' faces and things like that. And I
Mhm.
think now that he's, like, kind of growing up a little bit, he's just kind of not with it anymore,
Yeah.
you know?
And he's sober.
Mhm. And he's sober. Yeah.
So I think that, like, again, just going from like our history with addiction, and we know
Mhm.
when someone is in active addiction, that isn't always like who they are as a person deep down. So I think we're finally getting to see who James is as a person
Mhm.
and his love for the women around him and just the
Yeah.
people around him in general.
Mhm.
And his dog,
Mhm.
him crying about Hippie and having
Yeah.
like anxiety about leaving Hippie with some
Mhm.
random stranger or just leaving for a weekend because he's just like, what if Hippie thinks that we're not coming back? You
Mhm.
know, like that shows huge growth in
Mhm.
James.
I think so. I love James Kennedy, and you know what? On top of all of it, he's hysterical.
He
He's so
is
funny.
so funny.
Like, my clinical supervisor, it was funny, she was off for, like, a week, and she texted me, and she was like, "Have you ever watched Vanderpump Rules?" Because she knows I watch a lot of reality TV, and I was like, "Oh, girl, have I watched Vanderpump Rules?" "Yes."
Mhm,
And I guess she was painting her house, and she just kind of, like, had her TV on, and it was on Bravo, and it was like they were playing reruns of Vanderpump, so she kinda, like, got sucked into it, and they were playing,
mhm,
like, the last season, so she's not seen, like, all of the seasons before this. She's seeing, like, the last season where the, affair kinda played out at the end, and then, like, now she's watching this season, and, like, through that, like, on weekends or stuff, like, she sees reruns, she'll watch them. Um, but every week she texts me and she's like, "I just love James." And I'm like, "I know. We've been through it with James, don't get me wrong,
mhm.
but we love him."
James definitely had his moments where I was like, "James, oh my
Yeah.
god."
But also, like, here are some things to consider too. James is significantly younger than a
Mhm,
lot of the people on the show. So, like, while they were in their 30s, he was, like, 23, you know?
mhm,
And, like, he was young, he was in active addiction, which, you know, again, that brings out those survival behaviors a lot more,
mhm.
the aggression and the fighting and things like that. But also, like, I was just thinking about that scene where he spits on Kristen's door, but, like, that was also a toxic relationship, so you put all
It
those things together,
was.
and you can kinda see how, like, his behaviors are not like, not to normalize those behaviors, but, like, normal for those set of circumstances.
Mhm. And I think Kristen Doty brings out a lot of bad behaviors with
Mhm.
people. I think Luke is really, I wanna say he's good for her, but I'll also kind of think in some ways he enables a lot of her bad behavior and he just kind of
Yeah.
feeds into it and,
Yeah.
like, makes the situation 10 times worse, which we'll
Mhm.
go to the valley in a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Well, and a lot of the times that she was with James, she was, like, still on one about Tom Sandoval.
mhm,
So it was like, I don't it was just a very toxic relationship with them, so, um, I don't know, I'm just proud of James, and I think that Allie is really good for him. I think she grounds him a lot, I think she's a very grounded person. I don't know, I hope that we continue to see them do well. I don't know why Allie doesn't have a spot at the freaking reunion, 'cause she's just as much part of this season than everybody else is,
mhm,
but whatever.
whatever, they had to reserve the seat for Brock.
Okay, so I know that this is, moving forward a little bit much,
Mhm.
maybe, but Sheena's argument with Tom Sandoval at James and Allie's, I never thought I would agree to an extent with Tom Sandoval at all this season. But
Mhm.
when Tom Sandoval looks at Sheena and goes, "This was not your situation. You did not get cheated on." I was like, "Yeah, what we've
Mhm.
all been saying. You're saying it right now to her face."
Yep. It's like and this is the thing with Tom, is like sometimes I'm like, "Yes, you're getting it," and then he does something and you're like, "Nope, you don't get it at all."
Yes, because then he turns around and is like, "But you were the other woman in the relationship," and I'm like, "Okay, here we are, right back to square one.
Mhm.
Never mind."
And Sheena's reaction was 100% valid in that moment because
Mhm.
that would have been my same reaction too. Like that was
Yeah.
20, almost 20 years ago, dude.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
please move on, get over it. We're talking about
Mhm.
something that happened 3 months ago,
Right.
probably
Yep.
at this point, like 6 months before. But like,
Right.
there's a difference, and you broke the group dynamics by doing this.
Mhm.
So yes, this is your fault. And
Right.
that's where I'm like, in some ways, I'm kind of seeing like little divots of like where Sheena is correct in that, of like,
Mhm.
he did break the group dynamics and that affected everybody.
Mhm.
But it is not about her.
Right. Yeah.
But I also see like where the OCD comes in, of her already
Mhm.
having like postpartum OCD and her having those
Mhm.
intrusive thoughts, of where
Mhm.
she goes down like the rabbit hole and like the loop of thoughts of thinking that like this could happen in her marriage.
But here's my thing too. We see, and this hasn't been shown yet. I just saw this on like a sneak peek because you know how on TikTok they'll put out like sneak peeks of the next episode or whatever.
Mhm.
You see the sneak peek. I don't know if I sent it to you or not. The sneak peek of this week's episode, and she's talking to Tom about it.
Mhm.
Okay, and she's like tearful, and he's apologetic. He's like, "I shouldn't have said that to you. That was out of line. I'm sorry." And her response to that is, "It's just been so hard because you're the only person who's ever had my back in this group from day one."
Yes, I remember you
And
said
I'm
this.
like, if I'm Ariana watching that, I'm like, "Well, fuck you, then what am I?" Like, I guess I haven't had your back because Ariana's had her back more than anybody else has.
Ariana was the one that followed her out of the house when she Ariana didn't have to get up and follow her out of the house to check on her and make sure she was okay after that moment.
Mhm. Yeah,
Lala didn't do that. Lala
yeah,
sat her ass there. And
uh-huh,
Lala's supposedly Sheena's best friend.
yeah,
But Ariana got up and
uh-huh,
walked out and checked on her and made sure
mhm,
that she was okay before she left.
yeah,
So you're gonna say that Tom Sandoval is the only one that gives a shit about you? That's some BS. And I can
mhm,
see why Ariana and Sheena are no longer friends. If
yeah,
that's like the rumors that are going around.
because I feel like Ariana's watching this season. You know, I felt like this the last episode when Lala and Sheena were, like, at the beach with her and Ariana's crying and, like, they're talking to her, but then they go to the freaking fertility clinic a couple days later or whatever, and they're not being soft and kind about it. They're like, "I don't know why the fuck she's still living with Tom Sandoval. I don't, she needs to get the fuck out." And I'm like, "You just had this conversation with her where it's obviously, like, very painful for her, and she explained why it's so painful." And, like, if I'm Ariana watching that play back, I'm not gonna be friends with you because this is all happening behind her back and in these confessionals, and, like, she's not there when Sheena's trying to people please and be like, "Yeah, well, Tom, you're the only one who had my back." So, like, again, this is why it hurt me more than anybody else, like, that's all I hear. This is why I'm so affected, and this is why I'm the number one person affected. And I just can't. She spends everything to make it about herself. Completely about I
Mhm.
shouldn't say, like, yes, the group dynamics were broken and that affected her, but I feel like that she spends everything to make it only about herself.
Mhm. And what is that meme that I found the other day that was it's sheenering. It is a
Yeah,
verb.
yeah,
It is the ability to make any traumatic situation about oneself, buying obscure gifts for your conquest,
mhm,
wearing gold in hopes that someone will relate it to that one song that you did. And that is so accurate because it is. And also, like, I said this on my story the other day, but Shayna literally called a psychic for
mhm,
Dana
mhm,
for Dana's birthday. This was
mhm,
her gift to Dana. Dana's mom had passed away a few months prior.
mhm.
She called a psychic to come over and talk to Dana so she could talk to her mom.
Dana didn't want that.
No. And then Sheena started crying because Dana said no. And she was like going to everyone, like, oh my God, I tried to do this very kind thing and Dana didn't appreciate it and blah, blah, blah. That was the most insensitive
Mhm,
gift that you could ever get someone.
yeah,
And not only did you not ask her beforehand, you had the sidekick come over to her house. And Sheena
mhm,
was like, oh, she didn't have your address. The fuck if she didn't? She's in the parking lot. She has your address.
yeah.
Like, that was Sheena's highlight moment. That was like a moment where I was just like,
Yes, because instead of, like, her being like, "Oh, shit, like, that was really insensitive of me. That was a boundary that I should not have crossed, and I'm so sorry." Because
"Mm,
Dana would have been like, "It's fine." I don't know that for sure, but just from what we've seen of Dana, Dana would have been like, "I appreciate it, but this is just not, what I want to do."
mhm."
But she can't ever just do that. She can't ever do that. She has to make it about her and how she's the most hurt person in the room.
And let's also add the only reason why she was trying to be friends with Dana was because Dana was seeing Max.
Mhm. And Sheena
And Sheena had a little bit of a thing with Max.
was obsessed with Max for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like her trying to befriend Dana, and there was some like ulterior motive there
Mhm.
in the friendship.
Which is like, I feel like happens a lot. Even her friendship with Lala, I feel like that Sheena feels like that she's not popular enough all the time. Like, I feel like when I watch the dynamics, it's like she's not part of the popular crowd. So
Mhm.
she's always trying to befriend the person who's the most popular so that she can feel validated. For a long time, that was Stassi. I feel like that's what's going on with Lala. Like, Lala makes her feel popular
Mhm.
and important, which is not like people are important on their own right, so, like, she is too, but I think that like, her friendship with Lala makes her feel important,
Mhm.
and so that's why I feel like that she, like, when Lala and Katie were in that conversation, she kept interjecting and was, like, defending Lala when there was nothing to defend her for. You know what I'm saying?
I, we talked about this in the recording that didn't take, but Lala's like
Mhm.
sperm donor party,
Mhm. Yeah.
and she played spin is it
Pin
pin the
the
sperm on the
sperm on the
vagina.
vagina.
She had it at Lisa's house, which again is another thing. Like we haven't seen Lisa that much this season, which
Mhm.
is odd. I wonder if she was like so busy trying to open up that restaurant and also filming that show that's on Hulu.
Which is so good. Everybody needs to watch that.
I
But yeah,
haven't watched it yet. I gotta watch
so
it.
good.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's where she was.
And when we do see Lisa, I get annoyed because she's like Tom Sandoval,
Mhm.
party of
She
one.
was I think it's really funny, like, this past week too, that when Jax came in and everything, I loved how
Mhm.
they put, like, Jax, and then under it, it said ex-sir employee.
Yeah. And then when they showed Anne
Mhm.
and it said Anne, Tom's assistant, and then it marked out, and then it said Anne something about her employee. The editors and the producers of Vanderpump Rules do not get enough credit. Like, I don't know if they've won awards or
So
not,
good.
but they're so good.
Like, Jax's conversation with Lisa, like, I understand his frustration, like, a little bit of,
Mhm.
like, once they left the show, but they were fired from the show. So once they
Mhm.
were fired from the show, Lisa didn't contact them, like, during Brittany's pregnancy, like, over the past few years, like, they haven't really heard anything from Lisa, which I understand is really hurtful because
Right.
she was, like, another, like, mother figure in their lives,
Yeah.
and I can see that being very hurtful.
Sure.
But also, you did tell her to her face that this is my show,
Mhm.
like on one of the last episodes of Vanderpump Rules that you did.
Right. You blew up in her business and told her that. Like,
Mhm.
you had a literal meltdown in the middle of SUR.
Yeah, you were in her face
Mhm.
screaming that this was your show. And
Mhm.
she was like, "Actually, it's my
Mhm.
show
Yeah.
because it is called Vanderpump Rules, not Jack's Rules."
Not Taylor rules.
Yeah, none of that. So, but before we get more into Jaxie Boo, I want to talk really quick about Schwartzy and Katie. They are dating the same person.
It's so freaking weird, and I feel like that Katie's only doing it to be annoying, but, like, it's so
Yeah.
weird.
And James was like the only one that pointed this out. James was like, "Is this not weird to anyone else? Because it's fucking weird
Yeah, like,
that
why
they're."
are we acting like it's normal?
Yeah, because like at a couple weeks ago, like Schwartzy was flirting with Tori,
Mhm.
asked her out on a date, and then 5 minutes later, Tori was making out with Katie. And was like, and then Schwartzy went on a date. Katie went on a date with her.
Mhm.
Like, and then they were sitting there having lunch together,
Mhm.
and they texted her at the same time. And Schwartzy made the comment. He said, "I think us dating the same person is Katie's way of telling me that she misses me." Schwartz. Oh my
That's
God.
such a Schwartz thing to say.
It is, because it's just like, oh, in that moment, I was like, "Oh, he's such a golden retriever in this moment."
100%. Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like, "I miss you, I wanna get back together." He was like, "I just miss her hanging out with her. Like,
Yeah,
she's
like,
a good
he's
friend." And,
yeah,
like
which I get because like, they were together for so long.
mhm. And I think they look good as friends. Like, I like them
Yes.
and their friendship. I mean, he does have her name tattooed on his ass, so
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
I
that's
also like, when they went to I guess it was lunch or whatever, and in this past episode, like, they have more chemistry as friends than they did when they were married, you know?
mhm. Yeah, and, like, the little banter of, like, him talking about his hair, and she's like, "Eh,
Yeah. Not great. Yeah.
who did that?"
Which
And
you can
then
only get from a closeness of, like,
mhm,
the relationship that they have, you know?
yeah. I don't ever want them to get back together, and I know
Mhm.
Schwartz is in, like, seemingly a nice relationship right now, but, yeah, I just think, like, I wanna see more of their friendship evolving.
Yeah, me too. In a healthy way,
Mhm.
not a date the same person forever kinda way.
Well, speaking of 2 people that have had sex and are friends, let's go into Kristen and Jack.
I saw a TikTok that said that they think that Chris and Dodie is the one that got away for Jax.
You can't see the face I'm making, but I'm like, "Ugh, no."
I was dying. 'Cause could you imagine? Could you imagine?
That's weird. I
Yeah.
mean, they are 2 peas in a pod, but they're too much alike. Like, can you imagine? Like, that would
No.
be such an unhealthy
Mhm.
relationship.
It'd
I
be
think they would kill
explosive.
each other.
They would be cheating on each other all the time. Yeah,
Murder-suicide would happen there. Just
100%.
saying.
Calling it.
This is the thing with Kristen, is every time she's like, I don't know what she does to get people to spill their deepest, darkest secrets to her, but she gets
Mm,
everybody's secrets. And I think she like stores them away for a rainy day for when she is like pissed off at
yeah.
this person
Uh-huh.
to just tell the world. And that's exactly what she did to Michelle. Cause she was like for pretty much the whole season, she's like, I'll just keep protecting you. I'll keep protecting you. And Michelle was like, I feel like that's a threat.
Mhm.
I feel like she's threatening me. So now I'm just like, stop protecting me then.
Mhm.
Like,
What you gotta do.
quit.
Yeah.
And so then Kristen revealed that Michelle has had a boyfriend for a year. And I'm still trying to piece together if Jesse knew because in the episodes, he was talking about how if there was infidelity in the marriage, then he would be
Mhm.
out and he wouldn't want to try.
Mhm.
But like she is completely checked out of the marriage,
Mhm.
100%, which makes me be like, okay, yeah, because she's in another relationship.
Mhm.
And now that it's like 100% confirmed and she came out
Mhm.
just last week, they went to
Mhm.
an event together.
Mhm.
So, and I'm talking a lot because Autumn hasn't watched The Valley. So I'm like filling her in on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I'm trying to piece together. Like, I don't think that Jesse knows, but I guess we'll figure that out later
Mhm.
on, maybe if he knew
Mhm.
or didn't know. But I don't
Mhm.
think he knew. And I
Yeah.
think because it was revealed that she's been texting other guys in this episode too.
Mhm.
And that was like a secret. Yeah. Bottom line, I don't think Jesse knew.
I I can see him knowing, but I haven't watched it yet to see his, like, reaction to it, but
Well, we
they're
haven't
just
really
such an
seen
unhealthy
his
relationship.
reaction. Yeah, it is a really unhealthy relationship. And
Mhm.
from what I'm seeing, like from what I'm gathering, like
Mhm.
Jesse is very explosive when he's angry and he like
Mhm.
physically assaulted two, three people in that hallway. Um,
Mhm. I did see that on TikTok. I saw that big fight.
yeah, because like Zach got pulled down,
Mhm.
Luke got hit.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Brittany got hit.
Mhm.
You know, it was just like a really explosive
Mhm.
moment.
Which we
And
called that, like, in the episode where he was just, like, raging in the hallway. It's always him in hallways. He's always in the hallway raging.
so it doesn't surprise me that he like physically put his hands on people,
Yeah.
including women. Oh, and it also doesn't surprise me that she has another boyfriend because like if that's how he acts behind closed doors, I'm not saying like he's an abuser, like I'm not saying that at all, but
Right.
just like the anger that he is displaying and the like screaming to himself and all of
Mhm.
those things are like not healthy emotional regulation skills,
Yeah.
and you're acting like a toddler.
Right. Go to therapy, Jesse.
Kristen, I know she's in therapy, but like it's again, it's the thing. Like she will be like, "I'm gonna harbor your secrets forever, and I'm not gonna tell
Mhm.
anyone." But then 5 minutes later, she's screaming them from the rooftops, and like that's very
Mhm.
manipulative to me.
I feel like that her version of, like, growth is not standing on a patio screaming, "Suck my dick," 15 times.
Hmm.
And, like, okay, yeah, don't do that, but also don't manipulate people and don't hold things over people's heads,
Hmm.
you know? Because
Yeah.
Michelle kinda got to a point that I would probably get to at, one point being like, "Do what you gotta do." Like, I'm sick of being told that, so at this point, burn it to the ground, I guess, you know?
Hmm. They did show like a bunch of rerun episodes of Kristen being explosive on Vanderpump
Mhm.
Rules, which was
Yeah.
so funny. I was like, let's relive suck a dick. And then like lighting up a cigarette.
There's so many. There's so her hitting James and at, Sheena's wedding,
Oh, that was wild.
every fight that her and James ever had.
We probably didn't even see like a third of the fights that they had.
No. They were such a weird couple, just in general, but
Well,
I always think about that episode where Kristen's making breakfast, and I guess James is, like, passed on the couch from, like, when he was drunk the night before,
mm,
and she wakes up, and she's like, "What are you doing today?" And James is like, "What are you doing today, Kristen? Like, I don't know." And Kristen's like, "Well, we have couples therapy." And James is like, "I've only been awake for 30 seconds, and it's already the worst day of my life." Have you seen And he was
I
like
remember that.
yeah, he was like, "This is Kristen's way of being like, hey James, don't go doing anything fun today because a big shitstorm's coming."
Oh my god. But that like shows their dynamics of
Uh-huh.
everything too, of like also her being significantly older than him too,
Yeah.
and like his mindset.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I'm 22 years old. I don't want to go to couples therapy. Like, no,
With my almost 40-year-old girlfriend. I don't wanna do that.
no. Well, also another thing is Jax Taylor is literally, I don't know, trying to rip Brittany through the mud and like saying like she's drinking too heavily and she's doing this and she's doing
Mhm.
that. And I'm like, and he's like trying to portray himself as this like dad. And he's like, I stayed and cleaned up the house after we had this party. And Brittany went to Malibu with all the girls and got blackout drunk.
Mhm.
It was a lot. I was like,
Yeah.
are you trying to paint her in a bad light so that you look better? And I think that's exactly what he's doing. And she had a talk with him and she was like, like the girls and I were talking about like, when was the last time we had sex? And she was like, probably like a month and a half ago. And
Mhm.
Jax was like, I guess, has it really been that long?
Mhm.
Whatever. Just kind of like blowing it off. And she's just
Mhm.
like, I mean, I want to have sex. I
Right.
want to, but you also don't make me feel beautiful and important in your life.
Right, yeah.
Because if she goes and has fun, a fun night, one night away
Mhm.
from her son,
Mhm.
he degrades her
Mhm.
and calls her an alcoholic and calls her all of these bad things. Like,
Which is very rich coming from him. Like, we've not seen the last 20 years of his life where he's done is, like, go to jail after he's been got in some drunken fights or stealing sunglasses while he was drunk or you know what I'm saying? Like, he did all that times 400, and I get that he was younger now than he or it was younger then than he is now, and so, was she, but
but it's still snowing in Jack's world. So, like, why is
right.
he bitching about this? And if
Uh-huh.
you don't know what we're talking about, just Google what that means.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
like, come on, dude.
Mhm.
Don't talk about her drinking like half a bottle of tequila
Mhm.
when
When
you're
we
when
know.
yeah,
Mhm.
don't ever.
Yeah.
That's what that if I was Brittany, that's what I'd be saying.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the other night I also heard this from someone on TikTok. So, on in Jax's new restaurant, he posted that there was going to be a Vanderpump Valley watch party and like
Mhm.
Brittany was going to host it.
Mhm.
She gets there like an hour early and they're like, the valley's like almost done and Brittany still isn't there. And Brittany, like she looked at Brittany's story. Brittany was like
Mhm.
hosting a party at her new Airbnb. And
Oh
I
god.
think that is so funny for
Yeah.
Brittany to be like, Jax, you know I ain't doing that. And he's like, well, I'm going to post it on Instagram and you're going to have to do it. And then she's like, actually, I'm going to throw me a party at my new Airbnb
Mhm.
and you're just going to be looking like an idiot for having
Mhm.
signs up that like I'm going to be here and I don't show up.
Oh my god.
I love it. It's petty, but I love it.
Oh, yeah. They're if they get divorced, it's gonna be the most petty divorce in the world.
Oh,
'Cause
they're
we
definitely getting a divorce because there was also a rumor that I heard this past week.
Mhm.
Don't know if it's confirmed or not, but I heard a rumor that Jax banged his publicist in a bathroom.
Which is if you know anything about Jax Taylor, don't don't look for us to be too shocked on that.
No, and like there's been rumors about him and his publicist for months now.
Mhm. Well, even,
And
like, the pictures, like, right after him and Britney split, he posted pictures with his publicist. They were sitting very, very close for a publicist and a client to sit, and, like, I don't know what that relationship is like, but, like, it just did not sit well.
doesn't look good, but
Mm,
in typical Jax fashion,
mhm.
he's doing Jaxy things.
He's a serial cheater, and he
He is.
likes to have sex in bathrooms.
You remember when he had sex with that one girl?
Yeah, Laura Lee,
Yeah.
and then Lisa had, like, a meeting with him, and he's like, "No, I didn't do that." Then it cuts to him in the confessional, and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I had sex in the bathroom." I'm like, "Do you forget that this comes out eventually and everybody sees it?"
He's such an idiot. He's like,
Yeah.
maybe Lisa won't see this. I don't know. Bitch, what? Oh my god. Anyways. Well, to wrap it up,
Mhm.
Jack Taylor sucks
He does, yeah.
and Sheena sucks. And we
And
love James Kennedy.
and we love James Kennedy. He's our favorite.
We should get him on the pod.
James Kennedy, where are you at? I know you're busy playing Coachella, but if you could, like, take a second to come to the pod, that would be great.
Yeah. DJ James Kennedy, come push your buttons over here.
Come push your buttons. Did you see that, TikTok of Taylor listening to him play Cruel Summer? And,
Mhm.
like, she's singing along to it, and then he changes it, and
She's like,
she's like, "This is not right. This is not my song."
that's so cute. Um, yeah, I would like worlds colliding here.
Mhm.
Worlds colliding. So we've gone back and forth on like what exactly we want our main topic to be, but I think we've landed on it. And we're
Yeah.
going to go into Reputation, the album, and kind of talk about the lore behind Reputation, where it came from, why
Mhm.
it happened, why it's our favorite album of all time,
Yeah.
why I have this poster behind me
Mhm.
of her on the Eras tour in the Reputation era. And yeah, and like why it is still like one of the most highly anticipated re-records from her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why don't we start with all the way back in 2009,
Mhm.
September 13th, 2009. That day will go down in history.
2009 seems so I guess it was. It just seems so, like, long ago now. Like, we're closer to
Yeah.
2029 now than we were at 2009.
Mhm.
That's
Do you
crazy.
remember where you were? when that happened?
I mean, I was a freshman in high school,
I was in
so
8th grade.
yeah, so I was watching it because I love award shows. We talked about this before, but like I love MTV Music Awards. I love, the Grammys, the Oscars. I love award shows. I always have. So I was in my room watching it. Um,
Mhm.
and I think when I was a freshman in high school, I don't really like, I didn't, I mean, I was like, God, that's freaking awful. But I didn't really like grasp how terrible it was until like an adult. Just like
Yeah.
seeing that happen to her as a 19-year-old kid still.
Mhm. Yeah. And so if you don't know what we're talking about and you're living
Mhm.
under a rock, um, or you're too young
Yeah.
to have been there. It was rare. I was there. Autumn was there.
We were
I
there.
actually, funny story. I I didn't have a TV in my room at the
Uh-huh.
time. And so I was having to watch things upstairs in
Mhm.
our living room.
Yeah.
And and so while this was happening, I had to go to bed. Like it was like curfew. I was in 8th grade, whatever. I had a curfew. I couldn't watch all of it. So I got up early the next morning and watched the recording that I had of it. And I was like in awe that this happened. I was like mouth dropped on the floor. Like, what just happened?
Yeah. Because I don't think that we had seen, like, at least I hadn't seen anybody do that to anybody at an award show
No,
like that?
no. And it was Taylor won video of the year for You Belong With Me, or it was female video of the year for You Belong With Me. And Kanye West, being the jackass that he is, jumped up on stage while Taylor was accepting her speech and grabbed the mic from her. And I'm assuming she said that, like, she thought, like, oh my God, Kanye West is on stage with me. Like, wow, this is amazing. And she
Yeah, she
probably
was his
thought, like,
fan.
yeah, like he was going to say something like phenomenal about her because
Yeah.
she's like the first country music artist to win female video of the year,
Mhm.
something like amazing like that. And
Yeah.
he said, I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Mhm.
And Beyonce was like gagged. Everybody was gagged.
Mhm.
Everyone
And
stood up.
you feel so heartbroken for Taylor Swift because she gets that
Mhm.
mic back from him, and she just doesn't know
She doesn't know what to do.
what to do. Like, and she says in her documentary that she does later on that, like, everybody was booing Kanye, but she thought they were booing her.
Mhm.
So, like, imagine winning this award and you think a whole room of your peers and people that you're a fan of because she grew up listening to some of these people's music and they're booing you. Like, that you think that they're booing you.
That's gonna be so just devastating. She said this too, like she grew up on like the opinions of other people and like that
Mhm.
being a people pleaser. She's talked about that multiple times. Like
Yeah.
for people to turn their back on her,
Mhm.
she was just like, well, I'm done.
Mhm.
Like this is it for me.
Yeah.
And for Beyonce to, when she won Video of the Year, to give Taylor the opportunity to finish out her speech
Mhm.
afterwards, that just shows like what a queen Beyonce is in
Mhm.
general.
Yeah.
And also, like, let's stop pitting these two women against each other because I'm still seeing the Tortured Poets Department and Cowboy Carter being pitted against each other, and both are
Mhm.
phenomenal albums.
Yeah.
Like, and they're two completely different albums. Like, they're
There's
like one
different
is,
albums.
yeah, they're completely different. And Beyonce has a completely different way she tells stories than Taylor
Mhm.
Swift. And there's not one right way, but
Mhm.
they're both killing it. So like let them have their moment together.
And they're so supportive of each other. Like, through all of that, I think that really, like, boosted Beyonce's support of her, because I think Beyonce felt bad even though she was not a part of it. Like, it was still she felt like a guilt of, like, he did this on, I guess, behalf of me, he thought. Um, So I think that that's really like helped them kind of have this like supportive like sisterhood through that, and they show up for each other. They show up to award shows for each other, like to music video premieres for each other. So
Mhm. They are in support of each other. And as Taylor says, like, we all got crowns. You need to
mm-hmm.
calm down.
Yeah.
So
So
let's
that
stop
happened.
pitting these people together.
Yeah. So like that's just like the very beginning
Hmm.
of our circle with Kim and Kanye.
Yeah. So not to go through like everything because I don't really care about
Yeah.
this history.
Yeah.
But Kim and Kanye actually met in 2003.
Mhm.
And then Kanye appears on Keeping Up with the Kardashians for the first time in 2010,
Mhm.
October, which is like a year after the whole VMA situation happens.
Mhm.
And then in 2012, Kanye professes his love for Kim in a song.
Mhm.
And then in 2012, they announced that they're having their first kid together.
Mhm.
And then North is born in 2013. They also got engaged in 2012, which was like the big baseball field engagement,
Mhm.
like Kanye's over the top
Yeah.
engagement. Um, and so during this time, obviously they're together for a minute. They have another kid in 2015. They do their Harper's Bazaar cover in September of 2016. Gross. Um, but before that happens, so in 2015,
Mhm.
they're at an award show,
Mhm.
and Kim is pregnant with Saint
Mhm.
at the time, and there's that infamous picture of Kim very pregnant and Taylor standing next to her, and they have their arm around each other, and they're listening to Kanye give the most bizarre speech I've ever heard in my life. I have no idea what he was talking about.
Right.
Um, but at this time, it was Kim, Taylor, and Kanye's way of showing, hey, all is forgiven in the world.
Mhm.
Let's move on.
Which,
Taylor,
by the way, Kanye never really came out and apologized, I don't think.
no.
Like, I think that this was kind of Taylor Swift bearing the hatchet, so to say.
Mhm. And I mean, she says this later on in Reputation that
Mhm.
she buried the hatchet. She moved on.
Mhm.
She was like, okay, whatever. Um, but also in 2010 on Speak Now, the song Innocent is about Kanye. And it's
Mhm.
kind of about the whole experience. It's like almost a 6 minute long song where she talks
Mhm.
about how, like, pretty much like, I forgive you for what happened. You're 32, you're growing up still,
Mhm.
whatever. Let's all move on. And so, like, eventually everybody moves on. And you see Taylor's being very supportive of them.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, Kanye drops his song Famous.
Mhm.
And in the song, he said, I still think me and Taylor might have sex. Why I made that bitch famous.
Mhm.
Number one, that's fucking icky to say
Mhm. Yeah.
about your friend,
Mhm.
supposedly,
Yeah.
and like your wife has heard that.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's so weird and bizarre to me. The other thing was the music video, where in the music video he has like himself in a bed, wax figures of Taylor Swift naked
Mhm.
and Kim Kardashian naked and other women in the bed around him.
Right.
And it's disgusting because,
Mhm.
like, the fuck if she did give you permission to do that.
Right.
And then the phone call comes out because Taylor
Mhm.
comes out and says, I did not know he was going to call me that bitch
Mhm.
and say that I made that bitch famous. Like,
Mhm.
she never heard that.
Yeah.
And the phone call comes out, it drops on Snapchat. Do you remember this?
I remember it,
It
yeah.
dropped on Snapchat. I
Yeah.
remember going through it and looking, and I was like, what is this?
Mhm.
And it was a video, and it was an edited video.
That Kim Kardashian edited.
Yeah, that Kim Kardashian edited, and it was a recording, and Taylor didn't know that she was being recorded
Mhm.
either, of Kanye saying, like, "Let me read you this line. This is the line," and Taylor saying, like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, that's fine, whatever."
Mhm.
Um, and, like, either way, I don't care how you spin it. When you call someone and you're recording the phone call,
Mhm.
you know at the end of the day that you were doing something to make another person uncomfortable,
Right.
and you know that they might come out and say later on, like, "This made me uncomfortable," and you
Mhm.
have evidence to be like, "But you said it was okay."
Right.
But she didn't get all the facts of the song.
Mhm. Yeah. So he presented the way that I understood is, like, he presented it like he was gonna say something uh, like, positive about her, you know? Um, and so, like, she was like, "Yeah, I think that's a great idea, like, I think, you know, we have 2 different styles and it would be cool," like, she was kind of on board with it, and then Kim Kardashian doctors this video after Taylor comes out and says that she was not comfortable with that. Basically, Kim is saying, "Oh, she's a liar because she got approval from it," whatever. The media absolutely swarms Taylor Swift with calling her a liar,
Saying
calling her
she's
a
a
snake.
victim.
Yeah, saying that she's trying to victimize herself. And when I say, like, the media, I also mean, like, people on social media, just, like, commenting under her Instagram posts, constantly, newscasters talking about her and, like, lying and trying to get ahead and, like, all of these things that were not true.
I remember this back in 2016. I was, like, fighting in the fucking trenches, um,
Yeah.
and I remember one girl in my sorority, she posted a picture. Well, she didn't
Mhm,
post a picture. She said, "Oh my god, I just got a picture with Taylor Swift." And
mhm,
I was like, "Oh my god, where's the picture? Like, show me the
mhm.
picture." And it was her holding a snake.
Yeah.
And I deleted my comment, and then as my ass did back then, I subtweeted her
Mhm,
and was like, "Taylor Swift is one of the best people."
mhm,
I just went on, like, a long ass rant. She
mhm.
ended up deleting the picture because I kind of, like, just wouldn't shut up about it. So, um, that was me in 2016. But I was fighting in the fucking trenches because all these people were like, "She's a snake,
Yeah.
Kanye, Kanye, Kanye," and then that video, I remember circulating
Mhm.
of that she showed in the documentary,
Yeah.
was at a concert that was like, "Fuck Taylor Swift, fuck
Mhm,
Taylor Swift." I was
mhm.
like, "How dare you people?
Right.
He fucked up her life, and you're gonna
Mhm,
come out here and you're gonna say this stuff?" And at
mhm,
the time, like, the doctored video came out,
mhm,
and I didn't really like, I know Taylor Swift came out and was just like, "Yeah, um, that video is, like, not the entire conversation," or whatever. I was just
yeah.
like, even if it was the entire conversation, at the end of the day, she has a right to be like, "This makes me uncomfortable."
Right. Yeah. Because even in that conversation that's doctored, even in the full one that ends up coming out years
Mhm.
later, but you don't ever hear him say, "By the way, I'm gonna put a wax figure that's naked of you in a bed with me." You don't ever hear him
Yeah,
say that. And for anybody who follows Taylor Swift, that's not really her vibe. Like,
no.
Taylor Swift has, like, a couple of, like, sexy songs, I guess, but they're not
Mhm.
even, like they're not, like, erotic, they're not, like I don't know how to really explain like, that's just not her she would never agree to
Yeah.
something like that is basically what I'm trying to say.
Like, her, like, sexy songs are more of, like, metaphors and
Right, yeah.
alluding
Right.
to sexual things without really
Mhm.
coming out and, like, saying it.
Yeah.
I mean, she said if the sex was half as good in the
Yeah.
manuscript, but still, like, that's the most that we've heard. Like,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, like, there's just it's, like, a very tasteful way
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
saying that, but she would never.
That's just never been her like, when I think of Taylor Swift, and even before I was, like, a huge fan of her, I've never thought of, like, people, like, are fans of her for her sex appeal. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause that's
Mhm.
just not she's very beautiful, it's not that she's not, but it's just that's never been her MO, I guess, you know? And so I don't think she would have ever agreed to her being portrayed that way in somebody else's music video, and I think that they knew that.
They definitely did, and it was disgusting, and
Mhm,
in 2016, we've talked about this before, her
mhm,
Bleachella era,
mhm.
so it was, like, Coachella 2016 era,
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, she comes out with, like, the bleach blonde hair and everything,
Mhm,
and when she changes her hairstyle, that's usually, like, a signal to her fans, like, "Hey, there's a new era coming," and
mhm.
at the time, she was putting out music every 2 years, so it was
Right,
the last time she had put out new music was 1989, which was in 2014, so in
right.
2016, I was expecting an album to drop in the fall
Mhm.
before all this shit hit the fan, and then I was, like, constantly on Twitter, like, "I need a new Taylor Swift album. Fuck all of you people who sent her into hiding because I need a goddamn Taylor Swift album."
Yeah.
No one understands. I was so mad.
I also wanna point out too that, like, around this time, she was very thin, which she talks about, or has talked about since then that she struggled a lot with her, like, disordered eating and things like that. Because I remember seeing her and her Bleachella moment, and she's just very thin, like, not, like, alarmingly well, I mean, I guess I don't know. She was just thinner than what she is now. Like, now she's thin, but she's, like, a healthy, strong physique looking
Yeah.
versus then it was a lot different, I think, than
Mhm.
it is now, where she's, like, in a healthy space, you know?
Yeah, and I think that also shows, like, where her mental health was then at the
Right.
time too.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't I mean, obviously, her parents are very healthy and everything, but I
Mhm.
don't know if she was, like, 100% surrounding herself with healthy people because
Right.
being around and this isn't to, like, shit on models or anything like
Right.
that, but
Yeah.
during that era, she was around a lot of models. So,
Mhm.
and I've watched The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I know how Yolanda Hadid treated Gigi and Bella,
Right.
and Gigi literally called Yolanda and was like, "I'm at a photo shoot and I'm about to pass out," and Yolanda was like, "Just eat a couple almonds, chew them
Mhm.
really good through, and you'll
Right.
be
Yeah.
fine." Like,
Yeah.
no, she needs substance.
Mhm.
Like, you need food that's going to carry you through an
Mhm.
entire day of photo shoots.
Right.
Like, you don't need 2 almonds and sit there and chew them really nice and good so you get
Mhm.
like, no,
No.
no.
Yeah.
And maybe she I don't know, I'm speculating, but, like, maybe she adopted some of those habits
Mhm.
back then,
Right.
from being around all of those, like,
Yeah.
models. That's just speculation for me,
Yeah.
but it's not from what I remember about Gigi and Bella, like, they were pretty much forced into an
Mhm.
eating disorder by their
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah. And so in 2016, instead of getting an album, Taylor disappears,
Mhm.
like, off social media. You don't hear anything about, like, she just disappears.
Like, all of her social media was still up, but, like, she
Mhm.
wasn't posting on it,
Mhm.
and she was a very active person on Twitter. She was, like her and Miley Cyrus were the first people that I followed on Twitter back
Yeah.
in 2008, something
Mhm.
like that, and to not see tweets from her was,
Mhm.
like, so weird to me
Mhm.
and so bizarre,
Yeah.
and, like, the whole thing was just, like, super bizarre to me. I was
Mhm.
just like, "Where is she?" And, like, looking back now after watching the documentary, I kinda feel bad about how I was, like, sitting there kind of like, "Taylor, just come out of hiding. Just come out of
Mhm.
hiding." But, like, she was not ready, and I wouldn't be ready either.
Right. Mhm.
Like, if the entire world and she says this too, they got "Taylor Swift is over"
Mhm.
trending #1 worldwide on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, how many people have to say that? Like,
Right.
millions, not just, like, a million people, like, hundreds of millions of people, probably like half a billion people have to be saying that
Right.
for it to be trending #1 worldwide.
Mhm.
Like, it's insane. what she went through at that time, and people say that she wasn't traumatized.
No, she absolutely was. Looking back, that blackout era for her, I'm glad that she took that because she probably really needed a second, because Taylor Swift does have, like, a good grounding family and things like that. So she probably, honest to God, really needed that, and as we saw, she took that time to channel all of that pain into a fucking killer album.
Mhm.
Didn't get the recognition it deserved at the time, and, like, she needed that to kind of process, and but I think Reputation, like, at the time too, all of that anger comes out in Reputation, and you can kinda see where her mental state was through the music too, you know? And we've not even gotten her version yet. Her vault tracks for that are gonna be fucking insane.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Also, we see during that time, that was when she started dating Joe Alwyn,
Mhm.
and she started dating him, like, the end of September.
Mhm.
Also during this era of, like, her world falling apart around her, she was with
Mhm.
Tom Hiddleston, which is my
Yeah.
favorite. Oh my god, they were so cute together. All of their pictures, there is, like, the most gorgeous picture, and I know
Mhm.
it's an invasive paparazzi picture, and I
Yeah.
don't support paparazzi pictures, but I do support this
Mhm.
picture, and she has her hand out. They're at, like, a table and stuff, and
Mhm.
she has her
Yeah.
hand out, and he is, like, kissing her hand and
Yeah.
looking up at her so lovingly. It is
Mhm.
the cutest picture I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Travis, you need to recreate it with her. So, speaking of Travis, have you seen the videos of them walking around last night
Oh,
at
I've seen
the
them.
gala? Oh my
Yes.
god,
I've
so
seen
cute,
them.
so
We'll
cute.
never get enough of Taylor and Travis.
He was wild. Someone said that it was like watching a black cat, her being
Yeah.
the black cat, watching a dog, like a golden retriever with the zoomies,
Yeah.
because he was running around. And she
You
was
know
just
what? She
like,
needs that too, though.
yeah, for sure. Anyways, back on topic. But yeah, so I mean, Tom Hiddleston gave us Getaway Car, which I
Mhm.
absolutely love. If you don't know the lore behind Getaway Car, so she was with Calvin Harris in
Mhm.
2016, and the Met Gala
Mhm.
was the first Monday in May,
Yeah.
and in there we get videos that come out
Mm.
of her and Tom Hiddleston dancing.
Yeah.
And Getaway Car is pretty much a song about, like, I wanna leave my boyfriend, but I don't know how to leave him. And
Mhm.
so it's basically alluding to, like, she gets in a getaway car with this person and they speed off into the sunset, but then also she, like, took the money,
Ditches
put
that
the money in the
person.
bag and stole the
Stole the
keys.
keys.
That was the last time you ever saw me.
Ah!
Yeah. So she definitely, like, dipped out of that, and I think she dipped out of it to go to Joe. But then, like, that's where we also get a lot of, like, really cute clips of her writing Reputation in
Mhm.
Miss Americana, looking like how in love she was, like, despite
Mhm.
doesn't matter how the relationship ended, whatever. She, at that time, needed a healthy, supportive relationship, and she
Yeah.
also needed someone to hide away with, and that was
Mhm.
comfortable hiding away with, and I think he was very comfortable hiding away with her. And
Yes.
at that time, I think it fit for both of them, the relationship did. And you can just see how in love she is with him.
Mhm.
Like when she's sitting there playing on the guitar, Call It What You Want to him,
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite clips of her of being like,
'Cause
she's so
she's so
happy.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like during the era of the most, and she says this in Reputation too, like during the era of her worst time, he
Mhm.
saw the best in her.
Mhm.
And he was still there and he was blocking out all of the people calling her a snake, people calling her a liar, people calling her all of these negative things. He was there for her, being like, I don't give a shit what these people say about you. Who
Right.
are you? And I'm going to get to know you.
Right. And like you said, like, despite how it ends now and, like, people can say what they want, I'm not really gonna, like, shit on Joe Alwyn a ton. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
near the end of the relationship, I'm like, "What the fuck did he do?" You know, like, we were
Mhm.
speculating on what he did, like, I agree with you that at the beginning of that, she needed they like you said, they fit into each other's lives perfectly, I think, at that time. And you know what? That's probably the most realistic relationship we've ever seen her have, of, like, they fit into each other's lives, and then life kinda moved forward, things changed, and then they didn't fit anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
And that's what happens in, like, real relationships is
right,
when you're with someone for so long, sometimes you grow apart instead of growing together.
exactly, yeah, and I think that when it came time for her to fully come out of hiding because, like, when she comes out of hiding, then COVID happened, so, like, then
Mhm.
she's kind of and we're all locked down. So when it's finally time to come out of, like, Reputation era and COVID, and it's finally time to be her again, he didn't really know how to handle that because that wasn't the Taylor Swift that he got into a relationship with.
Which is why we get Bejeweled.
Because when Reputation and I mean, if you've not listened to Reputation, first of all, you probably have heard something from Reputation against your will if you've not listened to it. But if you haven't listened to, like, the entirety of the album, it is until the Tortured Poets Department came out, it was my favorite Taylor Swift album.
Mhm. Yeah, same. And I mean, the opener of the album,
Mhm,
the opener of the set and Eras, and the opener in the Reputation Stadium tour
mhm.
is, like, the most iconic thing ever.
Yeah, you
It's
don't get any
ready for
better than
it.
that.
Yeah.
It's so funny because in the Eras Tour so, if you've not been to the Eras Tour, it goes the Lover Set, Fearless, and then we go to Evermore.
Mhm.
And right after Evermore's Reputation. So, you watch her perform Tolerate It, which is super emotional and sad, and then you gotta get it together because we're going right into Ready for It. So you better wipe your tears and you better get your shit together because we're going
Mhm.
right into a time where you need to have your shit together because that's what
Mhm.
Reputation is.
Yeah. And the Reputation era, she said, well, she just shows it, like, she plays into the world calling her a snake. So she's
Mhm.
like, "You wanna call me a snake? Then how I'm going to drop everything for Reputation is I'm going to delete every single picture on my Instagram, and I'm
Yep.
gonna start putting little pieces of a picture every day." And that
Mhm.
picture created on the grid a
A
snake.
snake. Mhm.
And it was like, "Oh, what is coming?" And then all of a sudden she's like, "Drops, look what you made me do."
Mhm.
And you're like, "She's back. She is back."
And the
And
Look What You Made Me Do video is so iconic too.
iconic.
Yes, because
There's so many Easter eggs in it.
there's so many Easter eggs, and you get, like you said, she leans into it. So I think at the beginning when it all happened, she hid away, and then at some point she was like, "You know what? Fuck this. Like,
Mhm,
you wanna fucking say this shit about me? Okay, fine, whatever." And I think that she really took back some power in doing that, you
mhm.
know?
She did. And I think, like, the Ready For It music video too, kind of,
Mhm.
like, is, like, a picturesque of, like, she's in this machine and she's trying to, like, break free and, like, be her
Yes.
own person.
Mhm.
And I think, like, that also shows, like I think, like, the dark Taylor Swift is also, like, picturesque of her haters, and she's like,
Yeah.
Bye, I'm gonna blow you up, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on with my life, and I'm gonna come out
Um,
victorious at the end."
yes. And then listen, I'm gonna say this and I need everybody to hear me very if you hear nothing else that I say on this podcast, listen to this. Go to YouTube, type in "I did something bad, Reputation tour," and your life will be changed. That's a before and after of
Literally.
everyone's life. And it's an iconic song
It
because
is.
that is that because that whole song is her leaning in.
Mhm. And this was we'll also add, this is the last album that she had with her contract for Big Machine Records,
Which is a big
and
deal. Yeah.
I think also listening back to this album, you can hear that not only is her kind of, like, hatred songs and, like, her anger songs directed at Kim and Kanye, but I think they're
Mhm.
also directed at Scott Borchetta.
Yeah.
And her fighting, because she said she fought for years to try to get her master's. And she was like, and it's not about like the money thing. Like she was like, I will buy my master's. She had enough money to buy her master's, but they wanted to do shady deals behind her back. And
she found out they were sold in the media with everybody else.
Again, she was called the victim in that situation. Because she was 14 and signed a record deal and should have known better.
Yeah. And by the way, Scott Borchetta sold them to the last person on the face of the planet that she would ever want them sold to, who she says she had countless conversations. So it's not just like she sold them to, or that Big Machine Records sold them to somebody random that nobody's ever heard of. Literally the last person that she would want handling her masters sells them to Scooter.
Yeah. And it was someone who made fun of her for years. Scooter Braun, I know we talked about him before, but he is he was Justin Bieber's manager. I don't fully know if Justin has escaped him yet, but I thought he was a cool dude back in the day until all of this started happening. And then Justin, I remember Justin taking a picture and being on FaceTime with Kanye and Scooter being there too. And they were like, "What's up, Taylor Swift?"
And now he owns her masters.
Yeah. And so like, that's exactly why she didn't want him to own her masters.
And again, like, that's her work. So like, if you're going to sell them, but give her the opportunity to purchase her own blood, sweat, and tears through the years. So like, we just kind of see everything blow up, but I think at the end of the day, I don't think she really regrets blowing it all up. So
I don't either. And I think like we've talked about, I think that whole situation, as horrible as it is with Kanye, I think that whole situation needed to happen for her to have what she has now. And she says this in Thank You, Amy, like, yes, like, fuck you, but also like, thank you, because you did, like, your betrayal of my friendship and your betrayal of me and doing all this stuff in the media only gave me more power to do what she's doing now. And she's the biggest pop star in the world now. She was already huge back then, but she is even more so now. And like, that's what you get, Kim Kardashian.
And by the way, a few years ago, the full video came out, and Taylor Swift wasn't lying.
Nope.
Taylor Swift wasn't a snake. And Kim Kardashian admitted to doctoring it. So like,
and I've seen the clip on Keeping Up with Kardashians when she found out that it was getting released, and she was like, "Who the fuck got the video?"
Yeah.
And it's also, Tree also said, like, "Who did you all piss off for this to be leaked?" And in my brain, I'm like, Courtney did it.
Courtney probably did it. Probably. Because like, karma. Karma comes back to bite your ass, you know? And as Taylor says, she keeps her side of the street clean. I think that that's when we really see her. Like, she had obviously like heartbreaking songs like Dear John and All Too Well, but I think Reputation is the first time that we see her take these dark emotions and really turn them to gold, if we're being honest.
Yeah, she really does. And then she just keeps going after that. Like, My Tears Ricochet is about the Scott Borchetta situation. Mad Woman is about Scooter Braun. Vigilante shit is about Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
Like, there's pieces of It's Time to Go in Evermore that is about the Scott Borchetta situation. And they're beautifully written. I think it opened a door for her, because I think we see a lot more raw writing from her. And I think in a way, like, that makes me think that Big Machine was like keeping that from her and kind of like keeping her down, because I know, like, with the Speak Now, she wanted that album to be called Enchanted, and that's why the entire era of Speak Now is this like enchanting, magical, like forest type-esque situation, because she wanted it to be called Enchanted, but he was like, "No, Speak Now."
Yeah. Well, and I think too, part of it is that, like, up until then we had just seen her pain through, like, romantic relationship heartbreak, but then, like, Reputation highlighted another side of pain that she hadn't seen before, that unlocked a whole new, like, level of, like, betrayal and,
Mm.
like, these adult kind of, like, friendships and things like that that kind of really fell apart. So, like, we see those deeper pains kinda coming out, I think, too.
And we also see her write about love in, like, also in kind of like an anxiety way because I think she hadn't had a relationship that lasted this long, so she was kind of like I feel like a lot of this relationship, she was kind of being like, "Okay, when does it end? When's it gonna
Yeah.
end? When is it gonna end?" Just kind of like circling the drain in
Mhm.
that. But it's also like I remember when this came out, I was like, yes, these are a lot of anxiety songs, but also like this is exactly how I'm feeling in my relationship
Mhm.
because when
Mhm.
Reputation came out, I had been dating Josh for like 3 months at this time,
Mhm.
and that was the longest
Mhm.
consistent relationship that I had been
Mhm.
in first of all, years.
Mhm.
And I was like very terrified. I was kind of like the same thing of kind of like tiptoeing around. So like when the Archer came out on
Yeah.
Lover, and it was
Uh-huh.
just kind of like, who can stay? Because like no one's
Mhm.
ever stayed with me before.
Yeah.
And like Cornelia Street, like if it ends, I'm never gonna walk Cornelia Street. I like vowed. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm never going back to my hometown if we
Yeah.
end. Like
Yeah.
all of these anxiety songs about love came out, but then also like some really amazing, call it what you want,
Mhm.
like someone coming in your darkest times and wrapping a blanket around you and
Yeah.
making you feel good and comfortable. Like that's
Mhm.
exactly what Josh did for me.
Yeah.
And another thing, like Daylight, that is another song of just like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'm done fighting the world.
Mhm.
Like you are daylight for me in this
Mhm.
like cloud of darkness that I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So
I think we need to do an episode on Lover because that's also like, that also deserves, some space.
yeah. I hope Josh doesn't hear this. He's gonna be like, "You are so cheesy." But anyways,
Doesn't matter, Josh, it's fine.
it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's also why I love So High School because
Mhm.
when we started dating and like when we talked back in high school or
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
reminds me of that time. And he was a football player.
Yeah.
He he played collegiate football. Everybody,
Collegiate football.
I'm gonna stop. I'm getting like blushy. I just love my husband. It's fine. Let's wrap it up. What do you want to
Yeah.
say? Anything else about Taylor and Reputation?
You just need to go listen to it so you can bask in
Let's.
greatness. What's your intention for the week?
Mm, well, my intention for the week is to get my house packed up and cleaned out. That
It's a
is
big
my
feat, but
intention
I
for the
have
week.
faith in you.
I can do it. I just need to
Yeah.
go get more bins and
Mhm.
boxes. I need to find
Mhm.
somewhere that has boxes.
Yeah.
So, because we have boxes in our basement, but also cardboard boxes in a basement make me think spiders.
Yeah. No.
So,
Mhm. I
no.
think I think Lowe's has some. Could be wrong.
Hmm.
Or Home Depot. But yeah.
Also, Dollar General and Dollar
Yes.
Tree, they like if you go out back, they
Mhm.
have stuff. I'm not saying dumpster dive people, but like the workers will tell you to go back there and get boxes. So
It's fine.
it's not illegal if the workers are telling you to. It might still be, but whatever.
But the workers tell you, so it's fine.
Well, what's
Um,
your intention?
my intention, I had this intention, probably, like, 2 weeks ago, probably, like, last week, probably every day since I've become a therapist. I've got to start doing my notes on a timely manner, like, I have to because I'm, like, getting notes turned in late, and we get in trouble when that happens, so I need to get my life together and do that.
It's
Start
not
preparing,
fun.
so no, we don't get into this job because we love paperwork. So, but yeah, I'm gonna try really hard to
Hmm.
do it all this week and not have any late notes.
We got this.
We do.
Alrighty. Well,
Everybody go listen to Taylor, and we'll see you next week.
yes, go listen to Reputation and Tortured Poets.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.